6.1 number 25, verifying identity. So it's just one single function here, so I'm going to work on the right side. I'm going to write things in terms of sine and cosine. So cotangent is cosine x over sine x, plus tangent is sine x over cosine x, all over secant, which is, I could leave it as secant because it's on the bottom, but I guess I'll just say 1 over cosine x. Okay. The bottom by this fraction by the common denominator of all three of them, or I could combine these and do it that way. I'm gonna multiply the top and bottom of this major fraction by the common denominator, which is sine x cosine x. That'll get rid of those three fractions. I still have the main fraction, but it'll get rid of the smaller fractions. So if I distribute that, this is sine x cosine x, think of it as over 1 is going to multiply over to this, so these sine x's are going to cross off. I'm going to be left with a cosine squared plus, and then if I distribute here, these cosines are going to cross off. I'm going to be left with sine squared. And on the bottom, sine x times cosine x, that goes on top of this over cosine. So these cosine x is going to cross off. So I have just sine x, and Pythagorean identity on top is just 1. So 1 over sine x, which is cosecant x. Again, some people would be more comfortable combining these two. Looks like it'll be cosine squared plus sine squared on top over sine x cosine x. Then you get 1 over sine x cosine x. So if you combine these, you'll get a cosine squared plus sine squared over sine x cosine x. We combine those. So that's 1 over it. So I have 1 over sine x cosine x all over 1 over cosine x. And if we have something, a fraction, dividing by a fraction is multiplying by the reciprocal, so this top is just going to multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom, which is just cosine x over 1. And then the cosines cross off, 1 over sine x, which is cosecant x. Another way of doing the same problem.